Hello and welcome back. My name is Ajay Naik
And I'm Anasu Priyadarshi.
and welcome back to UI5 CN
CN.
webinar. So this webinar is going to be a very special webinar because we are comparing two big giants.
Yes.
The basic idea of comparing these two technology is, uh, as we all are familiar with Java, a newer version of Java, which is Java 9, is going to be released this month. I think
Yeah.
9th of I think Java 9 is going to be released on this July, and it has not been updated. Comparing other tech stack and
True.
then catching up to that. So the fuzz about Java is going on. It has been a time. There was a time when I think it was a dominant,
Yes.
predominant technology in the entire marketplace, and now Python is coming, Node is coming, and so many stacks are
Other
coming
stacks
together.
are coming that, okay, like people might think what is going to happen to Java, but well, that's what we are here to clear up. Like,
Yeah,
okay, there's nothing going to happen to Java.
yeah.
It's going to stay like it is. It's one of the most used programming languages, and uh, people will keep on using it. It's being improved.
Yeah.
They are going to include a lot of different programming paradigms, like functional programming in Java 9,
Yeah.
which wasn't there till now. It was strictly following an object oriented programming paradigm. So there's a lot to look for in the newer versions of Java, and no, it's not going to die.
Yeah, basically, when we compare these two tech giant stacks, I think our main intention is to help you guys to take a decision when you are in the decision of
Yes.
picking up the right technology. May it be for implementation, may it be for learning, may it be for maybe doing some of the part of the entire project. So where which technology suits in, and mostly for then if I see the entire architecture of both the technology, then I think some of them they are complete,
Yeah.
but you cannot really say which technology is best on general, because
Yes.
the one is good at doing something and the other is good at like doing something.
Doing something else.
Yeah.
Yes.
So uh, in this webinar, we will go point by point to the entire scope of a architectural decision making,
Yes.
and we see how these two technology rank together. It will be a tech war kind of a two technology, and we will go into deep dive as well. If you
Yes.
have any specific questions and queries, you can use the YouTube comment section, because we are live streaming from our studio here. So let's go ahead and see what are the uh, topics which we will be kind of comparing them to. So you can see that we have actually 10 points where these two technology will be compared. The first is development capability, integration feasibility, features, scalability, robustness of solution, security, ease of use, community support architecture, future development, forward and backward compatibility. So these are
Yes.
10 main points. There will be a lot of points, but I think this covers
These
a
are
lot
the
of.
ones that we choose to compare on because they matter the most
Yeah,
at times. Yeah.
true, true. So, and then we do have a timer here. So we will pick one by one topic, and then we'll start the discussion. And
For
3 minutes
3 minutes.
each topic, and we'll pick a winner. And if it is tie, then we say it's a tie.
Yeah.
And then at the end we count who is winning. So it's going to be a tough. I am little towards Java side, and he's little towards Python side. So I will be putting out some of the positive point of Java, and then Manas will be putting out positive point for both Python and Java, and we will be also doing the devil's advocate at the same time,
Yes.
and giving you all the information which will take help, which I think which will be required in the decision making process of picking a technology in learning, implementation, or maybe even doing some API integration if you're doing, and you're picking those technology just for security. If I'm using Java or Python, or just for like backend programming, I'm using Python,
Yes.
Django server. So should I do it or not? All these points are architectural, decision making process, and we're going to see that one by one. So let's go ahead and start
with
it.
our first one.
Yeah. So I think the first one, let me start the countdown as well. So it started. The round one is development capability. So Manasvi,
Yes.
tell me quickly, Java and Python. So let's start with Java.
Okay. So Java, as we know, it's used for end-to-end development of
Yeah.
a solution, Like you can make a backend server, you can make the complete UI, and it has got a very good like it supports every kind of database here.
Yeah.
So you have a complete end-to-end solution with Java. It has got some really good frameworks that you can work with. Like for UI, you have Swing,
Yeah.
and for back-end development, you have a lot of things like JSP, I guess.
Yeah.
I haven't worked a lot on Java, so
Yeah. So in Java, basically, either you pick a framework like Struct,
okay.
or you are using Hibernate. Those frameworks, those are very powerful and robust framework, because everything has been already figured out how the UI will be made, where the middleware will be made, where the backend will be made,
Yeah.
and we have Beans also, which will store the local storage for any browser capabilities. JSP and servlets are the server-based programming, which is independently you can do it if you don't want to use any of those frameworks. I think these frameworks makes the developer life very easy, because once you master those framework, you can take on any web development challenge, may it be on enterprise level or maybe small projects. You just have to understand how to do it and just
Yes.
fill in the blanks, and then the rest application is delivered to the customer. So on that capability, I think Java is very good. I don't know about Python. Let's talk about
Let's
Python.
talk about Python. So, what we know is like it's used for a backend server,
Yeah.
like very popularly. Like a lot of people do it. They use Django, and we have other frameworks too
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that support like very good and scalable backend server
Okay.
using Python.
So it
But
seems like you're saying mostly Python is for backend servers, correct?
yes, Python is for backend servers, but yes, you can make UI with it. There
Yeah.
are a lot of tools that
Yeah,
help you do
exactly.
it.
This is the point. If I want to make an UI,
Yeah.
I think there is Swing capability present in Java,
Yes.
which I think in Python there is no native UI capabilities.
No, not natively, but you have like frameworks like Kiwi.
KV, okay.
Kiwi. It gives you a very good support to make UI for using Python. Like it natively supports touch.
Yeah.
It can be used to make Android apps and iOS apps too.
Yeah, so in this point also, if you are making an application Android based, then Android native is Java actually. You can
Yes.
use wrappers and use Python, but Android native is Java.
It is Java.
Yeah, so from the development capabilities, I think I will give clearly it to Java, because it has been.
Yes, not a lot of UI front development has happened in Python. Like it's not that secure in terms of security. It's very easy to break into it. So
Yeah.
that's one of the main reasons why the UI part of it is not that popular.
Python, you are saying.
Python.
Yeah. So basically, if we say Python, the UI is where it is lacking, and nowadays the development are mostly UI based. Even when you are making an application,
Yeah.
the project we were doing, a lot of project, we start with the UI, we make it UX based, and then when you are using Python, then you have to rely on Django, on web-based frameworks. Python is basically a backend or middleware programming language,
Yes.
where it provides facilities to scale or maybe do heavy computation.
Very heavy
But from a
computation.
development capability perspective, Java, I think, has
It has got an edge
something
over
for
Python as of now.
yeah. So I think we are running out of time. So for this round one, I think Java has something for every part. It
Yes.
can be mobile development, it can be enterprise development, it can be
Like even Python has it, but it doesn't natively supports it. Like
Exactly.
we need to use some kind of a library or some kind of a wrapper to make do with it.
Yeah, so I think this one still, I think even Python has it, but Java has better development capabilities compared to Python overall. So I think I will give this round to Java. So, okay, so the round one, we have a, not a clear winner, but like
It
comparing.
has got an edge
Yeah,
over
edge.
Python.
So yeah, so Java is better in development capabilities. So if you are trying to learn a language compared, because I think from a developer perspective, you're trying to learn to break into market for jobs. Then on that aspect, I think Python is better because mostly the job which you will get in Java are stable legacy-based system where you're supporting those things. If it's very rare to get a development or implementation project, because you have to have
Yes.
at least 10 or 15 or
Years
maybe
of
7 years of experience on Java to really work on hardcore projects which requires the capabilities
Like
to scale it, to implement it.
To
It's difficult.
like
It's challenging, I will say.
code in Java, you need to know everything about it.
Yeah.
that's not the case with Python.
Yeah, I think Java basically till this state is object oriented.
Yeah.
I think one of the development challenges maybe you have to have that much of good or smooth, like comfortable with object oriented concepts to be comfortably able to do it. But from a capability perspective, I think Java wins here.
Here, yes.
On like maybe not a margin.
Well, I would give it to you.
Okay, so coming back to the round two, which is integration feasibility.
Yes.
So what is let me tell exactly what is integration feasibility.
Maybe we can reset it.
Yeah, and then I think let me give you a brief about what is integration feasibility, and then I will tell you like how we can actually like judge on that.
Yeah.
So when you take the modern day architecture of an application, how much API exposure it has, or maybe coupling or decoupling architecture which is being performed. If I have a web app, then how much easy it is to me expose the API, and how easy it is me on the receiving end to get those API,
Okay.
and how much scalable those APIs are, what I can transfer. Can I transfer video files, audio files, text files, or like any sort of file? Are they encrypted? And then within the process itself, threading, like how easy, in a simple word, how easy is it to link multiple systems together or multiple components together to form a system if the entire system is built with only Java and only Python?
Okay.
Okay, so let's start the counter here, and
I think reset.
yeah, and also just to
And
give
we
you a
have to
brief
start
that
it too.
you have to actually ask. You can ask any questions here because we are streaming live, and if you disagree with us, then just let us know in this comment section. We will also
Yeah.
include that in part of the discussion. So let's go ahead, yeah, Manasvi, from an
So,
integration capability
From
perspective.
an integration perspective, I think like Python is, it can integrate with anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like we have web frameworks, so it can readily expose its APIs
Yeah.
as REST, and any programming language that can access REST API, they can communicate with it. Apart from that, we have wrappers for Python. Like it is compatible with C. Like we have Cython for it. We have Jython, so that Python can you can write Python with Java.
Yeah, yeah.
We have something called CMonkey, that's JavaScript interpreter, and it's a Python wrapper
Yeah.
for JavaScript. So you can have Python and JavaScript together. So it's like really friendly with all the other programming languages, and it readily integrates with all of them. So I think that's one of the strong points about Python. So
Yeah.
like,
From Java aspect, when I try to integrate a application with existing Java or non-Java application, I'm totally reliant on how I'm able to do it. I'm either doing a JAX calls, or like there is a servlet server. There's a shared memory concept which can be either servlet. What I was or what we were actually doing is there's a memory location where everyone is writing, and there was common variables which everyone is accessing called session.
something
It's
like
kind of a very
logs or
session.
There is session.
Session is a paradigm or a concept which is very commonly used in web programming, where you have a common shared
Okay,
location
okay.
of variables where every access sessions can be actually, for example, if there are 10 users logged in, then they can all write to it, or maybe one user. It depends on how you're using it. But
Okay.
there's like if I'm one user and the entire my for example, and the entire time I'm there in the browser interfacing with the browser, I have a session memory location where I am writing everything, which is keeping track of what I do, like cut. So
Okay.
it's a state full. But then there are other techniques where you can talk one session with the other session of a user. So these are things which are a bottleneck in Java, because I don't think that's a integration friendly things to do compared to Python, because there's a wrapper, and the integration with the Python, what I believe, is much easier. When I was doing IoT also,
Yeah.
the libraries also, when I was compiling the bytecode, I have to find out those libraries one by one. I have to actually go in the deeper level on the problem. Okay, why versioning is an issue here, why versioning is an issue there. But for Python, it's very easy. I don't know how they made it easy, but for me as a developer to compile and get the output in IoT, it was much easy. in Python, much easier compared to Java. So I think I will give this point for integration feasibility to Python from a margin. So I think I don't know how much time is left. I think we are out of time.
We are out of time.
So I think by this discussion and it's pretty clear that from an integration feasibility perspective, Python wins. So okay, I'm just giving it a tick here. So okay, so let's move forward. The round 3.
Okay.
So round 3. That's pretty funny. Like you can ask also questions to us. We are live here, so you can use the chat in the YouTube here, and you can openly express your perspective. It can be against us as well. We are good with that as
Totally okay with
yeah,
it.
totally okay with that.
Yes.
We will actually support you if you kind of went against us and like give proper reason.
We take positive
Yeah.
feedbacks and negative as well. So
Okay, so coming back to the third feature, which is features. Third round, which is features actually.
okay,
So the
yeah.
features. So if you see Java, and I think feature we don't have to explain what it is.
Hmm.
How many libraries you are, are exposed to when you are in Java environment, or how many libraries or plugins which you can use to do development in Python environment. We have to kind of compare this. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's start it. Yeah.
So, well, should I start with Python?
Yeah, you can start with anything.
Okay. So feature wise, I think Python has got a lot and lots of features. So you have libraries for everything, for doing like everything.
Okay.
And the best thing about Python that I really like is its capabilities are limited only by the hardware that it's using.
Okay.
Okay, so you can go ahead and use big numbers, like really big integer values or floating point values, and it will be able to calculate. And if it is not, it's because of the machine. It's not because Python has got some limitation in
Okay.
itself. So that's one of the things. And then Python is complete in itself. Like what I mean by this is you don't really need to go and see documentations if you know how to use
Okay.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
Python command prompt completely. Like in the help section, you will get each and every kind of documentations that are available in Python. So all you need to do is have a command prompt of Python, and you'll be able to do everything there. Then it has got lots and lots of libraries, the ones that make it fast, because as we know, Python is a bit slower in
Yeah.
processing because it focuses more on what needs to be done. It doesn't focus on how to do it and those sort of things. Like if I'm programming in Python, I'm only concerned about my output.
Yeah.
I don't really need to get too deep into how I should write the program and all. I just need to have a functional knowledge of how it should be done, and it will give me, and it's very user friendly.
Yeah.
You can the readability of the codes are very easy in Python.
From a Java perspective, what you say?
From a Java perspective, well, I haven't dig too deep into it, but well, you need to know a lot about Java to actually work really well in it. So
Yeah, I think I will just kind of take it because I have major part of my career spent on
Yes.
Java, and then this is true.
Yeah.
The major issue which I faced is you need to do most of the programming in object-oriented fashion,
Object-oriented fashion.
and you need to know actually how to do it. Else, it will be very challenging to really perform it and know it well to do it well. So
Yes.
that's a big thing here because if you don't know how to do it, it takes a lot of time in Java to understand how to do it properly and perform it. Once it is done, it will work smoothly. But before that phase, like developer you need to actually nowadays pick up things fast.
Wait.
From a Java perspective, it's not really that good. Even there are features. The libraries is huge. The capabilities is provide like the maths library, the UI library is there, the frameworks are there, everything is present there. Even I think it has capability to security, storage,
Yes.
everything. The entire application for enterprise can be built with Java. But thing is, if you have not done it, first time you're doing it, it will be challenging.
The one thing that I really like about Java is it's platform independent.
Yeah.
Since it runs on a virtual machine, it doesn't
So
really
we are
need
out
to
of the
know.
time, but I think this is kind of a generic thing because
Yeah.
the way Java program is compiled is you actually run it on a JVM, Java Virtual Machine. you compile it in the .class file.
Yes.
The .java is a program. You compile it to a bytecode .class file, which is platform dependent, and I think it's platform independent. .class file, and then it runs on the JVM. So you just use this JVM, which can be running on Linux machine, Windows machine, Mac machine.
It doesn't really
From a
matter.
Python side, how is the entire process?
So Python is mostly interpreted, so it just goes line by line and keeps on executing it.
But I think there are other modes
So
of running Python program as well. Can be interpreted, entire compiled, on runtime it's compiling.
So yeah, there is a way, like Python has been implemented in a lot of different ways. So the underlying of Python can be in C Python,
Yeah.
JPython, RN Python. So they are kind of different ways Python language has been implemented. So each of them has a different feature in itself. One of them compiles it completely and then interprets all the line by line. And in C Python we have like a complete interpreted completely
Okay.
interpreted language.
Completely interpreted. Yeah.
Okay, it goes ahead and sees the statement, it executes the statement.
Yeah.
And
So
wherever
for this features,
Yeah.
I think to finalize this, we we give it to Python. I think so. Python is kind of going ahead with the rabbit. I think I don't know. Maybe let's see, and let's not reach to conclusion at initial series because it's round 4.
But yeah, the one thing that we would like to mention here is we are comparing the native
From a developer
capabilities.
perspective, I think when you are taking those architectural decision, you have to first see all these parameters based on from an eye of a developer and from an eye of a customers.
Yes.
Because the customers might be using a system which is comprising of 10 or 15 technologies, maybe PHP is include, Java is include, .NET, everything is there. But what is the major technology which is involved, and how the developer thinks about it
True.
is something which you have to be very careful about. Those architects, they get paid because of this only. We're not saying that, okay, once you go to this session, you will be able to take a decision, but these are the important things which, if you are as a developer understands, then from your career perspective, you are able to take those right decisions at right time. So let's go ahead with the scalability perspective as well. And I think from a scalability aspects, if I see Python, I think it's
scalable. Okay. Like I
scalability
said,
is basically just to go before it. It's how well it scales. There's vertical scaling and horizontal scaling.
horizontal scaling.
So I think, can you explain quickly both so we understand?
Okay, so like horizontal scaling is having multiple systems
Yeah.
that take care of all the requests that you have. So say you have 1 million users and all of them are requesting at the same time.
Yeah.
So, well, you can have multiple small systems
Yeah.
that take care of the complete thing in a cluster mode or
Yeah.
something. And in vertical scaling, we have just one system taking care of everything.
Okay.
It's scaled in such a way that it is able to handle all of the
Loads.
load but all by itself.
Yeah. So keeping in mind those two scaling aspect, if you implement it with Java and Python, independent, we're not talking about which hardware it's running or where it is deployed, maybe AWS or
Yes.
like maybe I think let's not talk about like just using those two paradigm of scaling or maybe architectural implementation of scaling by just considering the technology, the capabilities they provided by the technology. Let's compare on those terms. So let's talk about Python first, maybe.
Okay, so well, Python natively
Yeah.
it does not support what do
Scaling.
we call it? Not scaling, multi-threaded
Oh,
programming.
okay, yeah.
Multi-threaded programming. So it has got something called GIL, that's Global Interpreter Lock,
Mhm.
and that prevents it from having a lot of threads,
Yeah.
like having the capability of multi-thread programming basically, because it's not thread safe.
Yeah.
Python. But then we have this asynchronous programming paradigm with Python. So
Yeah.
it runs an event loop,
Yeah.
and like every time something has completed,
Yeah.
it gets to know about it. Just like Node.js is, if we are to compare it with something similar.
Yeah.
So That's how it can scale, like if multiple events are coming in.
Yeah.
And natively it doesn't support, but we have wrappers, we have the framework Django, like
Yeah.
if we are using it for web development, and Django scales really well.
I think, but
So it
when you
takes
want to
care of
scale
everything.
Django,
Yeah.
do you take care it from your, for example, in SAP we have basis administration. Normally we call it administration work.
Okay.
Do we scale the server, or it has some capability within itself where it can actually like ping user or interrupt the administrator that okay, I need to be scaled, or automatically takes on more space?
Okay, okay, auto scaling is something that I'm not too familiar with.
Yeah.
In Python.
Yeah.
But it must have that feature.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise, you'll have to set up everything.
Yeah.
And then you'll need to think ahead that okay, this is going to be the size of my customer,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to use this much space. Well, that's not feasible enough in this world. So, as people are using Django so much, I'm pretty sure it would have an auto scaling mechanism
Yeah.
on itself.
From a Java perspective, I will just elaborate. Like from my experience, basically we don't really think about scaling as much. We might really, when we are using MapReduce, Hadoop, I think it's
Yes.
yeah, basically big data application which required enormous scale on data level, or maybe if you're just talking about user level, if there are like 10,000 users, 1 million user pinging your server, then if server is running with Java, I think those capabilities are taken care by server itself. You just increase the hardware and ports and it will run.
Yeah.
And it is stable in terms of scaling. And I will give this point to Java because from my experience when I was making application which has huge load on servers, it never actually crashed, you know. It never actually crashed. So I have not really much experience with Python, but from my experience on Java, it was able to handle the load properly if you are able to. It never crashed.
Yes.
When we implemented it properly on the server level, we deployed it, and it was kind of, I think robustness is something which we'll discuss about it. It was quite robust, and the scaling, the number of users were increasing rapidly. The hardware we were using automatically scaled because the administration has set up in this way. Based on the load balancer will take care
Yes.
of it and redirect the traffic. Everything was working out well with the Java servers, and it depends actually mostly on which server you're deploying and how
Okay.
the administrative activity have done the load balancing.
I think with Python, you have to select the right tools to actually make it scalable.
Yeah, even with the big data programming, I think we are going ahead with the timing.
Yeah.
But I will just add it. If I'm using Hadoop for the MapReduce, or I'm using Spark, or even like nowadays, I think mostly for machine learning, you have to use graph programming,
Yes.
and you will use Giraffe. I think what we are
Giraffe.
using lately. In those cases, Java is much better if you know it well. But Python, you have to use the wrappers. I think C Python should be used as a in between, just to kind of make them understand.
Yeah.
And for Hadoop and MapReduce, I think
Yeah,
it natively
exactly.
supports Java.
Java, it natively supports Java.
Yeah, so I think for this point, I will give it to Java as scaling aspect. So I think this is a big thing, and then Java actually is taking this. So then the round 5 is robustness of solutions. So I think this is what I was talking about. Robustness, how robust your solution is. Just to give a brief, what is robustness? So robustness is when your solution is built, how difficult is it, if it is good, built in the right way, how difficult is it to crash? So, so
Well, I think
Yeah.
before starting the discussion, I would give it to Java.
yeah, 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 because it is not from like we cannot really compare feature. It is about experience.
Yes.
You build something, you let them or let this technology stacks or maybe the server or the system run it for a year, 10 years, or 5 years, and then you compare it's how robust it is. And there's when you're doing integration testing or integration, there's so many things which can go wrong, and even if you have a decoupled systems where every coupled are individually built and linked together,
Yeah.
and then most of them are running on different stack. And majorly, if I'm picking Java guy, I'm picking the Java to run most of the component. How they are talking with each other in those aspect. Um, I have seen that Java systems are more stable.
Yes.
Maybe because I have worked mostly on those, but even for enterprise, we suggest this to our customer because those were a stable system in early 2000s, late 2000s. I think in 2011 to I think 2007 to 11 it was mostly Java.
Yes.
Python is mostly picking up because of machine learning and the capability of
Machine
data
learning
processing.
and data processing.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the libraries for analytics. Maybe I think
Yes.
that is the main. But then I think from a stability perspective or the robustness perspective, I will give it to Java basically.
Yes.
What I've seen.
I will give it to Java too, but just let me give you a brief about
Python.
why not Python.
Okay, yeah.
So, well, as I said, it's an interpreted language, so it just crashes
Okay.
whenever it finds some anomaly in the
Okay.
statement. So you never know beforehand whether your code is
But you can
correct
still
or not.
compile it, right?
There's no compiling in Python.
But then I think when I was using Python, we can still compile it. There are three
No,
modes.
if I'm running Python, it would just go to that line and it will say that okay, there is some problem in this line.
Okay.
It will never tell you like okay, all these lines have the problem. Like in Java, while I'm compiling it, it will go through the complete code and it will tell me okay, there's a problem in line number 7 and then in line number 17. So in Python, when I'm running it, okay, there's a problem, it crashes, you fix that problem. If there is some problem ahead of that, it will crash again and then you'll have to fix it again.
Okay. So basically, when we discuss this, most of the people have this question, okay, why Python is a scripting language?
Yeah.
Or people are calling it Python script.
Yes.
Is it because that, okay, because scripts, the definition, by definition, a script is something which is compiled on the runtime actually.
Yes.
So like JavaScript, is it like compiled on the runtime?
Yes. Just like JavaScript, it is compiled in the runtime.
Okay.
Okay. So why it is not robust? I'd say because we'll have to add try and catch exceptions. Just like in Java, we have try and except. So if I'm getting some kind of an exception, it will throw an error and it will come out of the file. It will stop the code basically.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll need to have it in the right places. It's too much of work here. It's natively not. You have to make your Python programs robust.
Yeah.
They-
So
they
I
are
think
not robust by itself.
By itself. So I think this is discussion. I think we clearly found out that from a robust aspect, Java is much better than Python. So I think the time is over. So we give it this round to Java, and I think this is the round 5. Like more 5 round to go, and at this point I think we have I think Python Java winning
by
yeah. 3-2
1.
3-2. Yeah, Java is 3, Python is 2. Let's see in future like what are the all other capabilities which
Aspects.
Python can take on.
Security.
Web security, or maybe server level security. We are talking about how secure your application is, how secure communicating to your application is, how securely it can be built. Banking application, I think they are all made with Java.
I don't think you should make banking application with Python.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start the timer, and like I think we have already concluded something, but let's still discuss this.
Okay. Well, like I said, in the development capability itself, well, it's not secure to have a UI developed with Python because it has got some security issues. Like
Yeah.
it's easier to crack into it, and but if you see the security in the backend server part of it, well, it has been taken care of really nicely. Also, like whether it falls into the security or not, I'll let you decide. But if you're using object oriented programming inside Python, so we have three types of variables. We can have three types of variables. One is public, protected, and we can
Private.
have public, protected, and private.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So there is no concept of private variables in Python.
Okay. So it's public, protected, and
It's just public and protected.
public.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have private files, but what developers do is follow some kind of a convention to show that okay, this specific variable is supposed to be
Yeah.
private, and you should not touch it. But well, if you can touch it, of course, which is not the case with Java.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you have a private variable, it's private. You cannot really access it.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it falls under the security part of it or not, but
But then I think when we talk about Python, it do have a very good cryptographic library. So if you
yeah.
are making an application which is focused just for security, like it is not about the entire application how secure it is, but
Okay.
if it's just a security application cracking the code, and like Kane enable, something like Kane enable, and
Well, according to that, it has got really good libraries that can give you like good encryption and decryption mechanisms. It's really
yeah.
fast in processing those things.
Yeah, yeah. So on that aspect, I think the major issue with Python is if you have a mindset or a knack to always think about security, then your application will be secure. But if you are a little lazy, like us or maybe most of the developers, then you will really miss out those security best practices, and it will actually work. The application will work even if it is not really secure. But in Java, I think it is not in the case. So you have
Okay.
to follow the paradigm of object oriented, and everything is compiled thoroughly. And the best practices are very easy uh, if you are an experienced developer to make a good application which is secure as well. So I think why I will give this to Java, because it's almost time for this discussion. Because if you are just following the best practices and not really uh, following or giving a very high priority to security, your application will be still secure when you're making it with Java compared to Python.
Okay.
So I think in that case, because it's then difficult to judge,
True.
like because those are both, it's a very difficult decision. So when we talk about security, and people from Python side will really get annoyed, but the explanation is if you are just following the best practices and doing what the development says, the best practices says, then
Java
your
will
final
be more
application will be,
secure.
yeah, exactly. So I think this one also goes to Java. And then I think one more point which actually I missed to mention, all the when we are talking about robustness, there are specific application now which cannot run in any other language than Python because of its robustness in data processing
Yes.
and handling large scale of data. All the system migration which is happening to big data, all the legacy systems are being migrated to big data. They are being loaded, or transformation is happening from a, for example, if I have a data structure which is in my old machine, uh, for example, if I am having a legacy system and the structure is different and the new system in the cloud has a different structure, then all the landscape transformation which is happening, that okay, which data field should go where. So all the data loads, scripts are being run or written on the Python because of its capability to handle large scale of data and not to fail on that, because the ease of writing and also the inbuilt capabilities provided with the library itself. So because I think this is the right point which came the round 7, um, the ease of using on creating those important development which is major requirement in marketplace now. Most of the developers hired for data processing, if you remove the analytics side of the projects, maybe there are data analytics project where you are showing some UI to a CXO and they're paying huge money to you to increase their sales or maybe marketing efforts. But just system landscape transformation, STL or SLTs,
Yes.
on those, Python is preferred, and I'm working extensively, or I have been working extensively with Python to change those structures of tables, putting the data in the new tables, changing the basically the DDL
Yes.
of the entire landscape and migrating the entire data. So on those terms, I think because we are talking about ease of use, the current
Yes.
projects of transformation is dominant in the marketplace, just for the current. But if we say the overall, okay, I should start the timer also.
Yes.
So I got very excited and then I stopped. Okay, so let's now make it official. Okay, what do you think from ease of use?
Well, Python is very easy to use.
Yeah, Python is very easy to use. And my point was, there are some other things which now we are having, AI capabilities, machine learning capabilities. Those libraries are inbuilt. Bayesians,
Bayesian library.
machine learning, neural
There
network.
is a library called scikit-learn,
Yeah.
and well, it includes almost all the machine learning problems that
Hmm.
are there, and you can tweak them, you can make them have more accuracy by tweaking some of their um, properties, and it runs very fast and it's very easy to use. You maybe you have to write just 10 or 15 lines of code,
Yeah.
and it will take a table as huge as the size in GBs,
Exactly.
and it will give you the output with just 10 or 15 lines of code.
Yeah, even I think when we are talking about implementation level, it's very rare that Java do have those libraries.
Yes.
I think
Java does have. Java has.
Yeah, but I think
libraries,
from
but
a user perspective, I would prefer those libraries. Even in IoT projects, I will prefer Python because of the libraries is easy to use
easy
there.
to use.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to go anywhere to, learn them. Like if you just import those in your Python interpreter or Python command line, you'll be you'll be having access to all the documentation it has.
Yeah, I think that is a main reason for people picking up Python because it's easy to use.
Yes.
One of the, I think this is something which is out of the context but really important here, because it's easy to use, people are picking it up fast, and there has been a lot of Python developers, and I think it is a programming language where even if you are 2 year developers, you are 10 year developers, there's not much vast difference. But in
And-
Java, if you are 2 year developers and 10 year
Developers.
experienced developer, there's a vast difference between how much productive you are or how much, like just comparing
okay.
the experience, how
Okay, yes.
the learning curve in Python is short, but in Java, it like after like 5 years also you're learning new things,
True.
and you're still kind of saying, okay, I could have done it better.
They're still having new features.
Yeah.
Get
So
into
I'm
Java.
just comparing this to on a overall perspective, on easy to use.
I think like if you are from a different background,
Yeah.
but you need to use some mathematical tools, like say you are a mechanical engineer or a biotechnology engineer, then if you have to do those processing, those huge mathematical calculations, then you would pick Python because it's not that tough to learn, because it will take you hardly a day or two to get your hands set on how to program with Python.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you don't have to really get into the language to have those capabilities. Like you can do those calculations without going deep into the architectural aspect of it, or how to use the best practices and those sort of things.
Yeah. So for now, I think it's a clear winner for a use of use. Let's take this and let's go to the next level, because we have already exceeded the time for this round. Okay. So the next round is for
It's community support.
community support. Yeah. I think.
I
I think both of them. Yeah. I don't think
have
that we
a
can.
lot of community support. Actually, if we go to like how when where these two languages meet, so you would be surprised to know that Python is actually older than Java.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Python was in very early 90s, like 90 or 91, and Java was first launched in 95,
Yeah.
I guess. And since then, the development has been going on. And since it's so old, it has got a huge community support. You'll find all kinds of situations where you might get stuck into.
Yeah.
Having taken care of, the answers for them are available. If you're trying to build something new, you can just go ahead and ask your fellow developers in some forum also, and you will get answers to it. Like there are a lot of people using it, and
I think Stack Overflow is the best place you get answers
True.
nowadays. I think if you see the stacks, I think the number of
the Java
has more questions
is like,
answered.
more questions answered. It's on the top right now.
Yeah.
Okay, like going that way, yes, Java has a lot of community support, but Python doesn't lag behind.
Yeah.
It has got a lot of community support too.
Yeah, I think for now I cannot also pick a clear winner, because when you talk about my experience with developer in Java, I was able to find the answers from like Google, and Google will actually search those all the communities or like queries and give the answers to me. And Python also, when I was using, I didn't use Python much, but I have used Java extensively.
No, but if you think about the number of libraries that are being developed by users all around,
Yeah.
there are millions of libraries in Python available right now.
Yeah.
So, well, those are because it has a very good community.
Yeah.
So
I think
in,
from Java perspective, after Oracle has taken over Sun Microsystem. Now it is Oracle Java.
yes.
Oracle Sun Microsystem. What official statement is.
Okay.
And then after that, Java 8 came out, and I think it's open source. But
Yes.
some part of Java is still kind of controlled by Oracle itself.
Yes.
But Python is totally open source.
Totally open source.
I want to give this to Python, but because Java is predominantly, there are so many forums related to Java that you cannot really take this away
Yes.
from Java. So I think this is a tie.
This is a tie. This
yeah.
is a clear tie between both of them.
Yeah, so I think we don't move the tick. Yeah, so I think we have still 23 seconds. If you want to share something, then you can tell. Or maybe 19 second, 18 second.
Well, the things that I want to tell would be covered later on here.
Yeah.
In the
Okay.
next
So
ones.
for this point round, based on community support, so you can find the problems which you have in your development to look for the answers. I think both of them are having good, and we cannot really pick because Python is a winner, but when we see the support or the real figures or numbers, Java is the winner. So it's a kind of a, you cannot really pick those things.
True.
So I think it's a tie. So round 8 is a tie. And if you see the round 9, I think still I will give it to Python if I want to. But like, because the number says it's Java, so we just are not giving it.
Yeah, we should not.
Okay, so architecture. I think what I mean by architecture here. So architecture.
Architecture is like how is it made?
Yeah.
So
How you make a system which is predominantly using Java, and how good the architecture is robust. Mainly, it's also covers robustness, but maybe how easy.
Okay, I was having something else in my mind. I was thinking like how has it been made, like
inside.
what's underneath these languages, the architecture of the language itself.
Okay, basically because you are the CTO, so let's pick your things here because
Okay.
how inside it runs.
Yes.
If we pick that architecture, that point as architecture comparison, then like let's compare on that.
Okay, so the point of comparison here would be basically how compatible is it with different systems.
Yeah.
So I think architecture wise, okay, let's talk about Python.
Mm-hmm.
So Python comes built in with Linux and Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to start using it, all you need to do is go to the terminal and start with the command line. You just
Yeah.
have to write Python in the command line,
Yeah.
and you get the command line. But if you have to start using Java, you need to have someone who has good experience in it or
Yeah.
a good documentation about it. So you'll need to set it up. You'll need to set up the virtual environment, the JVM. You need to download the main Java file. You need to give a path to it. And once everything has been set up perfectly, it's only then that you are able to start using Java. So that's one of the things. Like I was saying this because I wanted to come to the next point. That's like Python is mainly an interpreted language. So it doesn't really need any kind of virtual environment to run. Yeah. And because of that, it is not compatible with all the systems that are there in the world.
Yeah.
So it is compatible with only a certain few, many actually, that are very popular.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have Python for Windows, for Linux, for Mac, everything. But if you think about Java, it's really platform agnostic.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you have a platform, and those platform is running a JVM, Java Virtual Machine,
Yes.
and someone is making that Java Virtual Machine.
True.
If you don't have a JVM for that particular platform, if I create a OS and that OS, it actually went
Okay.
very popular, became
So-
very popular. For example, let me finish. For
Okay,
example,
okay.
if we have a small hardware, maybe
Okay.
Connect Kit, what we were working on, it has its own OS.
True.
And if there is no JVM for it, you cannot build Java application on it. So someone is taking care of building that JVM, which is making it platform independent, or maybe bringing all the
That's
cool
true. It has
features.
got drivers that actually it can talk to the all the kind of hardware systems that are
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
all the kind of system architecture. If we go to system architecture,
yeah,
then every kind of motherboard it kind of supports, because that's how it is being made, and someone is actually taking care of all those things.
yeah, yeah,
So that's why I'm saying like it is supported everywhere.
yeah.
You wouldn't find a system now unless you have made it yourself and they don't know about it.
Yeah, because see, the main point is Java is architecturally good because people who are behind it have made it. Python, you're saying it is run interpreted language, and it's actually a good thing.
Yes.
And Java being able to be taken care by some individual people who are making it platform independent by creating those JVM for specific hardware. But I think here from a it's a very difficult question to answer because you cannot take a
Yes,
side.
you can't really judge. You don't have a point of judgment here. Like where do you like compare them?
Yeah, because because this is the point where we cannot really answer this question because the time is over and this discussion can go on and on. What I feel or what I think here is, if I'm comparing those two, those are like different flavors.
True.
And from a technical standpoint, those architecture has been made uh, keeping in mind that okay, Python can really take on a interpreted or script environment, but
Yes.
Java has its own environment, and then once it is built up, then you do anything within that environment. But I think we cannot.
But both of them support basically all of the things.
Yeah, so I
that
think
you
we
would
cannot
want to
really
do.
we
So
cannot really say any one is good here because I think the way they are built is pretty different. You cannot really compare like
they
this.
were built for different purposes basically. So you can't really say that their purpose was better or their purpose is better.
Exactly.
So there was a purpose and it was made. And
Yeah. So I
I
think
don't
therefore I think
there
this is
is
the
no winner
round
here.
where I think even we discussed this thoroughly with experts as well, and this is the thing which really was the final summary that what you said, ki they are built for the different purpose, and you cannot really compare. Okay, this is architecturally good or this is architecturally good. If you compare, okay, for what Python is made for data processing, maybe for scaling large amount of data and churning them, and maybe all those application like Dropbox, which is having so many files to be transferred and be stored. Those cannot be made by Java. And if you see the enterprise application and the end-to-end flow
True.
of application, which is maybe most common is like e-commerce application made with Java, you cannot really compare with the Python. So you cannot really say architectural
On an architectural
uphand.
level,
Yeah, you cannot
no one
say
has
in this particular.
upper hand unless it's like really bad.
Yeah, unless yeah, exactly that is a point. Unless it is very bad, unless
And they are not bad at all.
Apple Map bad.
Oh,
You have not heard this joke. Okay, I will not share it.
okay. You can.
Yeah. So there's a saying. Is it like Apple Maps bad?
Okay.
Or
okay. I kind of caught it. Let's
yeah.
not
No,
talk
no,
about it.
yeah. This is kind of not a
Okay.
personal. It's just a joke, you know.
Okay.
And then or okay. So coming back to the
Last point.
last point, which is future development and forward backward compatibility. Just to explain what is the topic which or maybe the scope for this discussion is when we talk about that how the libraries are coming out in future and in the current situation scenario, all the requirements which we are getting in the marketplace, how they are actually what are the features within the language itself which can
Mhm.
solve the current and future problems, and when the person responsible for creating the next version of the library, how they are making the library. If you have
Yes.
an existing application, will it work if you update the library?
Yes,
That
if
is
you
backward
update Java or
compatibility.
if you update Python,
Yeah.
will it work?
That is backward compatibility. Will it work if you update the existing library in future? And the forward compatibility is when you are creating those application, does the programming environment in it itself takes care that okay, if it updates and they have not taken care of, it will have fault safe, that okay, it will not really crash but
Okay.
really go down or not really show up. So forward
Okay.
and backward and forward both compatibilities.
I think.
No, I spoke it. I mentioned it
Okay.
correctly.
Okay.
So if I wrote something
Okay.
and it still works in a future version,
It's forward compatible.
that is backward compatibility.
No. If I write something now in the newer version of it and it runs on the previous version of it, then it's
Yeah.
backward compatibility, right?
So the basically the backward compatibility is taken by the guy who rolls out the library versions.
Okay.
So they understands, okay, if this application, which for example in Java specifically, Java 1.6 was there, Java 1.8, which is Java 8 what we call,
Okay.
is there. So if I wrote something on 1.6, will it still work on 8?
Okay, I thought it is forward compatibility.
No, that is actually backward compatibility.
That's backward compatibility.
Yeah.
And if I write something in 1.8 or Java 8 and it runs on Java 6.
Yeah, maybe I think you can, if you guys are interested, you can ping us your opinion. But what I think, backward compatibility is something which is mostly taken care by the guys who are rolling out the
Okay.
versions, and the forward compatibilities is something which we have to take care of.
Well, we'll be covering both the points.
Yeah, because see, when I'm a developer and I'm developing something,
Yeah.
I understand. When I was a UI5 developer, the UI5 libraries actually is updated very frequently. So I have to take care of, if mainly it happens with the visualization library, if the visualization library updates in the future,
Yes.
will my application still works in? And then the approach which I took is I took it offline. I took it offline. I really didn't really use the main core library. I just took it offline in a folder and I used those. This is not a good practice, but that's something we call it forward compatibility. So because I took it offline, so it will never crash because those are like fixed. Even if you update, you have to manually build it, and that's a
Okay.
support team problem. So that's something which is
Save yourselves. Save your own head.
yeah. So
Okay.
let's
Anyway, let's talk about
the
about Java and Python. Let's okay. So Python basically has two versions right now.
Yeah.
Python 2 and Python 3. So the stable version of Python 2 is 2.7 and for 3 is 3.6. And they are both very different.
Yeah.
Okay, some of the things from Python 3 would run on Python 2 and some of the things vice versa. But there are some conceptual difference between both of them. Like Python 2 was made just to serve your purpose. Now Python 3, those things are being optimized and presented in a much better way. So yeah, I would say that okay, they are compatible with each other, but not really. Um, Many a times, like most of the times, you'll find applications crashing if you have built it on Python 3 and you are running Python
No.
using Python 2 to run it. But then there are two different versions of Python. So if you just see in the version 2 like 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, they are compatible with each other. They have proper backward and forward compatibility, and similarly with Python 3.
Yeah, for Java aspect, when most of the time when I was using 1.6 compiler when I was like working on this mostly.
Okay.
Then like after some time the 8 comes now. 8 is going on, and then 9 is coming this month.
This month.
So I don't know what are the features it has. We have just kind of beta version there going on, but not a stable release. The main thing which I found is in Java you have to pick the compiler in which to compile in and mention what version you want to compile in. That is a good thing. But I want to give this particular thing, this round to Python because of the libraries or maybe the future or the present scenario, everything which is kind of people want to really work on, like machine learning and
Game development.
yeah, game development. Python is having much more presence here.
Yes.
Future development is the main because this
But
is
I
a
think
two-
in Java, in the 9th version, they are including some different paradigms of programming. They are including functional programming. They are including imperative programming paradigm. So Java is kind of changing now.
yeah.
So maybe in future, like I would say it would go head on head with Python regarding this.
Yeah, but then at the current situation, because these are 2 points, future development,
And forward, backward,
forward, yeah,
compatibility, both.
forward, backward compatibility. I think Java does a much better job because you can actually choose the which environment.
Yes, like
Because when you read those serial ports in IoT devices and read those parallel ports, I think some of the hardware have parallel ports, or maybe memory locations. The libraries which are present are only 1.6,
okay.
not 1.8. When I was working on
So
it.
I guess recently I was working on Hadoop, and like while I was installing it, like depending on different version of Hadoop that I would be installing on my system, I had to use a different version of Java.
Yeah, but then, yeah, so maybe there are some issues as well in Java. So this particular point I have to actually, or I want to give it to Python because of the future development libraries or maybe where it is going direction.
Okay.
It is being leading to. And the second is maybe I think the issues which you face with Hadoop.
Yes.
It has some issues. The Java has some issues when it comes about versioning. There is not much versioning 1.6, 1.8. There are sub-versioning,
Yes.
but like major
Those are
difference.
Majorly patch fixes. Right?
Yeah, majorly back spaces. Okay, so this round goes to Python. Okay, so let's calculate like the final is the score tally. I think we have for Java
Python,
1,
Java
2,
2, 3, 4,
yeah,
5, 3.
yeah. This is tie.
This is tie. Let's not count it.
Yeah.
Tie, and then 4.
Okay, 4, 4.
4, 4, like a 5, 5.
Okay, let's recount it. Let's count the Java first.
Okay.
1, 2,
3, 4.
3, 4. I think 4.
Nice, 4, 4.
This is 4, I think. Yeah. So we are not counting the tie actually.
Yes.
So
There are 2 ties, and it has
1,
4.
2,
So it should be 4.
3, yeah, and 4. Okay, so it's a tie. So basically, it's a tie. So not 40,
Not
but
48 would be
4.
winning by a large margin.
Yeah.
So basically, what it means is
So basically, this, yeah.
this means that they are both good for the kind of purpose they serve.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so if you are a very good developer, you would actually think about what you need to do and where would you get most of the features for doing it, and which one would be easier to use.
Yeah, I think from my aspect, basically, I will just mention 2 things. The first is it depends on what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
The second thing is I will learn Python. Why? Because I'm a lazy developer and
Okay.
it's something which is much easier to work on and it's growing rapidly. I have no idea what is there in this July version which is going to be out there. Maybe I can look into it, the Java, but Python has been predominantly picked up, and if I learn Python, I will really get a stable job and get a high-paying job, and I will love my job. So, because
if you think from a perspective where you have to learn something and get a really good job, then of course Python.
yeah, because see Java, you have to pick it up over the time, and those learning curves are difficult. So you have to put a lot of hard work, and if you are few chosen developer who can spend 18 hours just for learning every day and without no reason you are learning it, then like you can be very excellent Java programmer and then your demand will be very high. But from Python, I will put less effort
I
and
would
get more
still
results.
say that if you really want to know what programming is, then you should go and learn Java rather than learning Python, because
Okay.
Python doesn't really give you a clear idea of what computer programming is all about. Java is very structured. It has a concept that has been digged so deep into that it will give you a very clear idea of how things should happen, what is happening there.
Yeah. So I think at the end we have a tie. So it doesn't matter what we say. It's kind of those two technology
And
because
it
we
all
have.
comes back to what you feel is right.
Yeah, yeah. But I think we went through each points on architectural decision making, major 10 points, and we dig deep in each of them and found how to really pick a technology, what are the points to cover, take, and then we saw a little bit a glimpse of how this Java and Python can be compared on and what are present inside it. And at the end, I think we are getting a tie. So from a final summary perspective, I'm saying Python because the machine learning, AI, and big data applications and the big data challenges mostly. I've been preferring Python because the capabilities in the libraries and the ease of use from a developer aspect or from implementation aspect it provides. Java is a very stable, and I will not say legacy because it's been updating. So
it's being updated.
yeah, now so I don't know how it might actually lead on, have next version or the future present within the 9 itself, or people pick it like anything. So at this point, I think we are having a tie, and let's keep it to that. And if you want to learn any courses related to technology in Python,
Python,
JavaScript
UI.
is, I think we'll take a do a session with Java and JavaScript.
Yes.
But JavaScript is actually a clear winner from compared to both of these things. On JavaScript, mean stack.
JavaScript is, if we look at the future,
Yeah, if
like
we,
it's picking up so fast, so fast. It was in the client side, it has come to the server side, and it's kind of replacing everything. And
yeah.
I guess SAP HANA system is also going into Node.js.
Yeah, I
the
think
newer versions of
it will. Everyone is going to have microservice architecture
Yes.
in future, and then SAP HANA is one of the system which is going. So it's still in Java.
And even in enterprises are adopting
Yeah,
it
I think
readily.
enterprise are mainly adopting. They use what
The use case that it provides.
basically they use where it is good at. For example,
Okay.
enterprise use Java to run server, or maybe to have architecture where it flows, data flows. Python to do data processing and transfers, and JavaScript mainly to maybe microservice or UI, build UI frameworks are all JavaScript frameworks. So they use what specialty.
Of course, that's what they should do.
Yeah.
And they are doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to learn deep into any topics, technical topics, hands-on basis, then UFSC courses are the best courses.
True.
And use coupon. Don't wait to get 90% off. And this coupon has limited validity in our platform. If you
Only
have,
for the first 100.
yeah, I think we program it for the first 100 people
Yes.
to get 90% off. And if you have any questions or you disagree with any of our points, because most of the points which are from our experience, and we are not really pointing out that technology is bad or good. We're just suggesting us what is right and wrong and how we take those decisions when
Yes.
we are picking up those technologies. And entire discussion, if you find any discrepancies present here or any questions, you can just mail it as admin@ufsc.com or
Yeah.
connect connect@ufsc.com. So those two emails will be mentioned in the description of the video shortly, once it is archived in the YouTube as well. So let's end the webinar here. I think it was a very good discussion, and I think I learned a lot, but I think we compared those two strong competitors in tech stack, and I learned a lot about how to pick a technology, and I learned about Python because Java I knew a little bit, but Python I learned a lot, where it is lacking
Same here.
and how to really compare.
Even
those
though
things.
I know a lot of C++, but Java is still something that I need to explore a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so let's catch him in the next webinar. You can suggest topic as well to us to pick on, and we will always pick some nice and cool topic and fancy topic.
Yes.
So it is interesting as well, not boring like other.
Let's make a game sometime.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so see you then in the next webinar. My
See
name
you
is
in the
Ajay
next
Naik,
webinar. Good night.
and his name is Manas. Bye-bye.